You are about to listen to the full interview with Lee Hampel. Sections of it were originally included in our Beast of Bray Road episode. If you haven't listened to the full episode, we recommend you go listen. It'll provide context for this interview. Lee works on a farm in Wisconsin near Bray Road and has had some strange encounters. He recounts how he first learned about the phenomenon and some of the strangest encounters he's had.
Yeah, I'm Lee Hampel. Actually, I live in Wakanda, Illinois. The farm is in Elkhorn. I purchased a farm in 2007 to bale hay on, to make hay. We had a horse ride academy operation in 2007. I was a high school math teacher here in Wakanda, Illinois for 35 years, high school math and computer science teacher. I retired in 2000, and since then, my wife and I and our son, we've had a horse farm, and now we have a multi-use farm here in Wakanda. We have cows, horses, and sheep and goats. And I bale hay on the farm in Elkhorn, 35 acres in Elkhorn, which I purchased in 2007.
How often are you on the property in Elkhorn? Like, how much time do you spend between the two locations?
Oh, well, in the summer, during hay bale, I'm up there quite often, like a week at a time for probably in the summer, 5-6 weeks. And then throughout the year, I go up to pick up hay. I'll be up there a couple days a week to pick up hay and work on equipment and ride my ATVs and ride my snowmobiles and of course my research there. I've been doing the research there since September of 2013. And that's an ongoing, continuing scientific project that I've been working on for the last 10 years.
Can you kind of paint a picture for what the property looks like and also the surrounding area? Sure.
It's 35 acres hayfield, and it has a heavy fence line around it with trees, and there's it's 1/4 mile from Bray Road. I'm actually on Bowers Road, which is a parallel road to Bray Road. My property, the back part of my property is a half mile from Bowers Road, and then the back part is 1/4 mile from Bray Road. It has cornfields around it and soybean fields around it, but there's some very thick woods that are undergrown, have a lot of underbush and blackberry bushes and heavy undergrowth in the woods that are right near it. Some along my north fence line, I have a woods, and the west fence line, and the south fence line has the woods about 1/4 mile away.
So how did you first become aware of the Beast of Bray Road sightings?
Well, I mean, I purchased property in 2007. I did not farm it. I was renting property from my mother, and I was going to make hay there until her passing in 2000, when she passed 2010, bless her soul and love her so much. And I knew that she was 96, and I knew when she passed that the farm that I was renting from her, I have 2 brothers, and I knew that would have to be sold. And so I purchased the property in 2007 and did not start farming there until 2011. I had a neighbor who I planted alfalfa in the hay mix, and he farmed on shares. He baled the hay, and I stored it in a barn there, a neighbor's barn, and I got half and he got half. And then 2011, I built my pole barn there, and I started farming there in 2011. I started baling hay there myself, and I knew nothing until 2013, September 2013. To my neighbors, this was pretty funny because the Bears were playing the Packers, which they are this Sunday, and my hay was ready to bale, and I called the kids who were helping me, and they said, no, the Bears are playing the Packers, and they wouldn't help me. And no, we're not helping. No. And so I had some kids from Wakanda and some kids from Elkhorn. No Bears playing the Packers. So anyway, I went up and I stopped. 2 of my neighbors were down the road, and I stopped by and I said, hey, what are you guys doing? And they said, oh, nothing. I said, you watching the Bears-Packer game? No, we don't watch that. I said, how about helping me bale hay? How about let's just load. I have about 600 bales in the ground. It's supposed to rain tomorrow. And I said, oh, yeah, we'll come help you bale hay. Give us some Coors. So, okay, I'm in Wisconsin. So So we finished baling the hay, and we're standing at the end of the west end of my pole barn, looking out at my 35 acres. Now, both of them had lived there quite a while in that area. And the one gentleman says, you know, the werewolf lives back on your property. And I said, what are you talking about? You know, the werewolf lives back on my property. Your eyes are brown. You know, you're so full of it. But he said, no. He starts telling me his wife and mother-in-law saw it in 2010 on Bowers Road. He starts telling me the neighbor over here saw it, and the gentleman, the farmer who was share farming with me, he saw it on Bowers Road, on Bray Road, eating a raccoon, and he's starting to point out all these farmers and the area which had seen this, now what they called the Beast of Bray Road, because Linda named it that in the 1990s. And I go, what are you talking about? This is a hayfield in southeastern Wisconsin. You know, no. And he starts telling me about this neighbor here saw a UFO. And I go, what? So that was my introduction to the Beast of Bray Road, was standing at the end of my barn with two of my neighbors. And I think you guys drank too much Coors. And no, we're fine. So that was the introduction.
So after you learned about these sightings, you have had strange things happen on your property. Can you kind of recount the first encounter with anything odd?
Yeah, strange things. That's I don't know how you better put some quotes around that and then hyphenate or something, put it in capital letters, because like 4 or 5 days later, I was going to cut some more hay. And I had a kid helping me, and we were going up. There was another neighbor up the road, and he had a dairy farm, and he had a farm party every year in the fall. So it was towards the end of September. He had stopped by and invited me up to the barn party. Now I was of course a newcomer in the area. I'd purchased a farm, the Ludke farm, which had been in the Ludke family for 80 years, and so I purchased, so everybody knew, you know, the guy that purchased the Ludke farm, you know. Anyway, I was going up to this barn party, and there was a raccoon that had been hit just recently right on the road. And I said, I'm going to pick this up and throw it out back, and the werewolf is going to take it. You know, I'm kidding with the guy, with my helper, you know. And he goes, oh, the werewolf's going to take this. All right, you know. So I picked up this raccoon. I took it out on the west end of my property, which is the closest to Bray Road, and of course it's September, so the grass on the fence line is 4 feet tall. I mean, it's not getting cut; it's right on the fence line. And I just reached over and dropped it into this hot, tall grass. You know, expected nothing to happen to a raccoon out there. A couple days later, I was baling hay, and I'll walk over and check on that raccoon. And the helper was again with me. We walked over and we looked in there. Now the raccoon was laying on his back. I dropped him in there. He's kind of on the side. He's laying on his back. Had a slice, and all of his innards were gone. And I look at this kid and I go, "What the heck?" I go, "Well, look at that. Look at he's been opened up and all of his innards are gone." I go, "Got to be a hawk. You know, a hawk may do that." And the area around it, the tall grass area, was not disturbed. There was no path into it. Not like a raccoon or a coyote had gone in there, or a raccoon or anything. The grass was absolutely undisturbed. So that's pretty strange. And I grew up by Sycamore, Illinois, like I said, my mother's farm, and I hunted a lot. I was in the woods a lot. You know, I really enjoyed woods and outdoor areas, and during my teaching career, I would go camping a lot, and so I was very familiar with the outdoors. A couple days later, I finished baling, and I was just up there unloading hay, and I said, I'll drive out and look at that raccoon. Well, now he's not in this hole anymore, or nest, I'll call it. He's 15 feet away in a pile. No hawk can do this. They can't pick up a raccoon, carry it out of there. First of all, the wing, they couldn't get down in there. I mean, and there's no path in there. And the only way I can envision it now, I'm thinking some farmer, you know, one of my neighbors playing tricks on the new guy. You know, okay, so he said, oh, they saw me put a raccoon out there, and they went out and gathered it up and put it 15 feet away. Okay. All right, you guys, you're playing games with the new guy, okay. That same day, I found a badger on the road. So I dropped him down in that opening, in that nest, and 2 days later, he's out of there, and he's in a pile too, like 10, 15 feet away. And so I told my brother Fred, and I said, okay, here's what's happening. This has got to be some guy coming out there. So he said, I got a game camera. He said, I got a game camera. Let's put that up, and I'll put another when you get another raccoon. And so I went down and got the game camera, and I found a raccoon. I put the game camera right in the raccoon. And a week later, I go out there, and here this raccoon is over with near the other two. Nothing. And the other thing is, no coyotes or anything disturbed the badger or the raccoon. They eventually got maggots. And they just laid there. And now this other guy's there, and so I called Fred, and he said, oh, bring it back. He said, I got an SD card. We'll check it out, and we'll see what carried the raccoon over there. We'll find this guy, So I run around the SD card, the camera, and we look in, and there's some pictures of me putting out the raccoon, basically, and some triggers that we didn't know at the time, but false triggers. But I get thousands of false triggers out there. And I've done a lot of experimenting with that. And then the raccoon then is gone. And he's, on the pile. There's no picture. I go, well, your camera's no good. What good's your camera? Here's the raccoon, and he's over there, and your camera didn't even do it. He said, my camera's good. I go, it's no good. Now, 25 cameras later, 20 deer I put out and been carried away, tracked right in front of my cameras, missed in front of my cameras, no pictures taken for hours, and then the deer's gone, and the 20 deer I put out there, and in my research, and actually 19 deer have been carried away, which is very unusual for coyotes. Coyotes can't do that, and I guess my Moultrie, my Primos, my Covert, my Bushnell, my stealth cameras none of them are any good. They don't take. Although I should have dozens and dozens of pictures, because the deer will be there, this mist will come, and the deer will be gone, and there'll be no pictures of what took that 100, 120, 150 pound deer. Or there'll just be the deer's there, and an hour and a half later he's gone, and there's no pictures of what took it. But I do have some very, very, very interesting, intriguing pictures. I have some close-ups, I have some far-away ups, things that are not coyotes or deer, and there's no bear in southeastern Wisconsin. If a bear comes through, one came through a couple of years ago, and everybody was following it, and actually came down to northern Illinois, then turned around and went back north. But and there's no wolves in the area. And I have this track started right away. It's a 5-toed, 7-pad canid track. I have castings of it. I have pictures of it. I have I've counted about 18 people I've had out there to look at this. I find this track hundreds of times, and it's a 5-toed, 7-pad canid track, which is no animal in the world I can find on Google, and I have other people have tried to find this track or find an animal that has this particular pad, and there's zero in the world. Never has been any.
So this is really interesting, because it sounds, my understanding, I think a lot of people's general understanding of the story of the beast is, it sounds like it's a flesh and blood creature, but what you're experiencing sounds like something that's not necessarily flesh and blood, because it's not leaving behind, it's not triggering the cameras, it's not necessarily disturbing the grass, but at the same time you have found footprints. Yeah, I guess what's your feeling on that? Like, do you have any theories on is
it flesh and blood? I don't think so. I have a picture of my camera I set it up most of the time. I tried video, but it was I'd get 1,000 false triggers, and the videos were 30 seconds long or a minute 90 seconds long, and I'm watching for, hours and hours. So and they don't work as well for me as pictures. I can study the pictures better. So I set it up so if it gets triggered, it takes 3 pictures in a second. So it goes, 1001, it takes 3 pictures. And all of them have that mechanism to trigger a camera, or you can set it for a burst of 3, it's called. And I have a burst of 3 where in 2016, the DNR stopped me. I would get permission from the DNR to pick up deer in Wisconsin, and they give you a number and you pick up the deer, and I would take them out to my property, which I did with 19 of them basically. And 2016, they contacted me, and the DNR had seen these tracks, and they told me it was an abnormal coyote, and I go, okay, why are they 2 feet apart? Coyote tracks are 12 inches apart. He said, you're missing tracks in here. I go, there's no missing tracks. It's right here in the dirt, But anyway, 2016, the chronic wasting disease came into Walworth County, and I could not take any more deer. So in this particular instance, I had put out it's actually a roasted chicken from Walmart. The first picture is a nighttime picture, and there's nothing in the picture. The picture is just a picture of the trees and the chicken laying there. The next picture has a partial. You can see it's a figure. You can see the head. You can see the shoulders, but it's semi-transparent. And the third picture, which is this will all be in 1 second, it is a solid figure. It's got a head, shoulders. It's a solid figure in that 1 second, 1001, and now it's a solid figure. So to me, I have a picture of it materializing right before your eyes.
Can you describe what that figure, when it did fully materialize, what it looked like?
Oh yeah, I have other pictures of it too. I mean, and I've seen it 3 times. I have pictures of it. I watch it for 3 minutes. I took pictures with my iPhone, the iPhone 11 I'm talking on, in May 11th of 2021, and it was a quarter mile away, so the camera, my iPhone, not as good, but I could see it very clearly. And it appeared to be the same figure that's in front of my camera, but that one is just more of a silhouette. I mean, it's solid, but you can't see any facial features on the one where it materialized. It's like the back of the animal, of the creature. But when I saw it May 11th, 2021, I watched it for 3 minutes and took pictures of it. I mean, it was huge. It was huge. And I have other pictures that shows it's 6.5, 7, 8 feet tall. The ones I took in May 11th, 2021, I do have a guy who he worked in Hollywood. Now he works in Chicago. He's a cameraman, and he got interested. He contacted me, and he said, if you need any help with the pictures, identifying things, and then I would send him pictures of light shafts and orbs and mist, and I'm in the mist, and I'm half gone, half my body's disappeared, but there's no. I'm there. It's a bright sunny day. In fact, Linda was there the one time, and it's a bright sunny day, and we get in, look at the SD card I took out, and here half my body is gone, and Linda's standing off to the side, and it was a bright, clear day. He said, you can't have these pictures. That's what this guy always tells me. You can't have this. You can't have a light shaft that's coming down from the sky or stopping. You can't have this. But so I told him that I had these pictures. He said, I have an app that'll tell exactly how big this is. And he sent me back, and he said, the app says it's 6.5 to 7 feet tall, and the shoulders are 3 to 3.5 feet wide. And I mean, I have a picture. I have quite a few pictures of it. Well, and it was crouched down, and when it was crouched down, I went over there, and it was drawing circles in the ground. Then it stood up and walked west, walked away from me. I was in my field looking at my neighbor's field, actually. Then it dropped down to all 4 and then went in the woods. And I went over there, and here's the only track there. It was real dry, May of 2021. It was real dry, and here the only tracks there are these 5-toed, 7-pad tracks. There's a track line going, and they're the only tracks. So there's some old deer tracks and stuff, but Those were the fresh ones, and so I've seen it, and it's it's huge. The ears are when I saw it then, the ears appeared to be dog-like or up in the air. Now the one that appeared in front of the camera, well, I have other ones too, quite a few actually. That one didn't have any ears, and sometimes that happens. I have some close-ups and it doesn't have ears. So I don't know if it's when it's back behind it, the ears are down. I don't know, but that's the one I've seen. You can clearly see his ears or its ears on my pictures.
You mentioned you saw it kneeling down, drawing circles. What, like with its hand, like what was that like? 'Cause that actually reminds me a lot of I think one of the earlier stories that have been reported where I think a night watchman saw the creature in a graveyard digging in the dirt. I think in the 20s. Yeah, and I'm curious about that experience of seeing it drawing and kind of like what was it using its hands, and did you see the circles in the ground after?
I didn't know what it was doing crouched down. I could see that it appeared to be crouched down when I first saw it. I mean, I pulled back on my property. I was going to check my cameras, my SD cards, and I looked over and I knew right away my neighbor's bean field did not have a 4-foot stump out in the bean field. Okay, this is not a stump out in the bean field. I knew right away I'm looking at the Beast of Bray Road. I knew it wasn't a person. That's long ways from anybody, and no person's going to be out there in the neighbor's bean field. They're not going to be walking in the neighbor's bean field. You don't do that in farming. So I knew right away, and I could see it was crouched down. So I started taking pictures. But I didn't know what it was doing until I walked over there and saw the tracks. I knew right where it was. Obviously, I had just seen it, and I walked right over there. It was a quarter mile away. But where it was crouched down, it drew circles in the dirt. Appeared to be with one finger. It had, and I have pictures of it. Wish I could send you pictures, but I took pictures of the drawing, or of the circular motion that was in the dirt. And again, it was very dry, so you could tell very well if the dirt had been disturbed, recently. And it was it had just been disturbed, and so that's what it was doing. I don't know. Then, like I say, it stood up and walked away from me, which would have been west, and then went over by the woods and then dropped down to all four and then went into the woods.
Yeah, it's really spooky because I think it takes this creature out of the realm of being something that's maybe just more animalistic into something that seems to have intelligence.
Oh, he pranks me all the time. I set my camera up. Several times I've set my camera up and I walk away to look for tracks or follow tracks, and I come back and my camera is all twisted. And this is like 10 minutes later. He threw sticks at my truck, or he threw a stick at my truck. I mean, he could have thrown it through the open window, but he hit the back end of my truck. And I was driving at 7:30 at night. That was in 2018. All of a sudden, pow, my truck gets hit with a stick. It gets hit. So I back up quickly, and there's nothing there. And then I pulled ahead, and here's a foot-long stick laying in my field, right where I had been. And the scratches on my truck were like at about a downward motion, so the stick had been thrown from an higher point of view than my truck, So I have a friend, he's 6'5", and I said, let's go out, let's reenact this. I want to reenact this situation. So we go out there, and with the angle of the scratches in my truck and him holding his arm up in the air, and I moved him into the woods. I said, boy, it looks like, okay, hold your arm and pretend you're throwing a stick in this like that. And I said, boy, I think this is really close, because I knew right where I was when I got hit. And I said, this looks like really like that looks like where he was standing when he threw the stick, at me, at the truck. He looks down, he bends down, and like a foot away, here's two more broken off. I mean, they're about a foot long. The one that hit me was about a foot long and probably an inch in diameter. And here's two more sticks that were just freshly broke off in a pile. He had ammunition. No, highly intelligent. In the end, do I feel threatened? You get, yeah. Sometimes I had a guy come and he wanted to stay overnight, and he was out. He went to the North Woods, and he came out of the woods. He goes, "Oh my God!" He said, "No way!" I said, "What's the matter?" He goes, "I don't know. I've never had this happen, but the hair in the back of my neck stood up, and I just got this overwhelming fear, and I've never had the hair in the back of my neck stand up." And he said, I'm not going back in there. I said, "I thought you were going back in there. You told me you were going to walk over all of these woods at night." He goes, "There's no way. There's no effing way I'm walking in those woods at night."
When you saw it, you said you saw a dog, like canine-like ears one time, but did you get any other look at the face? Like, did you see like a muzzle or anything like that?
I did not. He was crouched down, and I think again his back was towards me. Then he stood up and walked away from me. Now, when he's down on all fours, yes, then I have the picture. You can see the ears and you can see the muzzle.
Yeah, you will have to figure out a way to get are those photos online anywhere, or do you have them?
No. I'm doing research, and I don't post single photos. If somebody wants to come and spend an hour and a half, because I have 100,000 pictures on my computer, and most of them have paranormal activity in them. I have hair sample. I had them taking pictures under a microscope of the hair sample. I sent them to a guy in Minnesota. He said, "I'll tell you what it is," he said, "for free, because I want to know about this." And he sent back, he said, "Well, that's not hair, so I can't identify it."
What did he think it was?
Well, it is hair. Look at it. It's hair,
What do you think it was?
I mean,
did he give any impression?
No, he said it's not hair. I can't identify it. That's not hair. I go, it was on a bush 2 feet high out on my fence line. I mean, if it's not hair, what is it? But he said it's not hair. I can't identify it.
Have you ever had anyone who's skeptical come to the property and have like a change of heart after experiencing something?
Oh, yeah, me. My brother, my sons, my wife. My son just was up there baling hay, and my godson was helping him last week, and they were in my pole barn, and something started throwing rocks up on the roof, and the rocks were rolling down, and they were throwing rocks at the shed. And he went up, and they shined the light out there. They weren't going out there and didn't see anything, but yeah, they got freaked out about that. But okay, so now 3 times I have offered, and I would do it again hopefully next spring, usually in May. 3 years, and what I do is I offer a 90-minute presentation, and I offer 20. I'll take 20 people at a time, and because that fits a classroom situation very well for me. I just that just fits so well, because I've had a classroom for 35 years, and 20 people, and then we have an hour and a half of presentation of pictures and questions, and then I take them for a half-hour hayride around the field, and I show the points where the UFO was, or where the deer were put, and things of this type, and where I got hit with a stick, and a variety of other things that have occurred out in my hayfield. Many people, or I should say several people, have come and said, "I'm very much of a skeptic, and I just want to come because somebody said you have more evidence than anybody else." I said, "Well, sure. I don't blame you for being a skeptic. I was a total skeptic, in 2013. I mean, he asked me in the summer of 2013 if there was a 7-foot dog man running around my property on 2 legs. I would have said you're totally crazy," which I told the guy told me. So I go, "Yeah, right, sure." One guy, after he has a bunch. We started out, and he has a bunch of, that could be this, that could be that. I go, it could be. And when we got to like about half-hour pictures, and I started showing him some snow track pictures, which I have, which are unbelievable. So I said, "Okay, now we have to agree now." It took a 90-degree turn, and then and there's just three tracks, and it's just a 9-degree turn. Here's 4-foot steps across my field that are 4-foot steps, not strides, steps. And I said, now we have to agree that this is now a bipedal animal walking on my farm. And I looked at him, and he had his head down. And he is my biggest skeptic that was so outspoken. I know other people were. He had his head down. Somebody said, I think he had some buddies with him, and said, well, what about this? He goes, I got nothing. He said, I got nothing. I got nothing. and he came up afterwards. He didn't say anymore. And went through the whole presentation of the lights and orbs and the deer being carried away and the deer being mutilated. And, at the end, he said, I've never, ever, ever thought I would be saying this. But he said, an hour and a half of my life, and I have a total different perspective. What I thought I knew and what I don't know, he said. He said, then he went on the hayride. Then we're on the hayride, and and I have a lot of technical interference out there. Batteries go dead. GPS goes crazy. I bought EMF meters last month, and I haven't had those, and they go crazy out there. Sometimes they stay at zero. Other times they go, do you know about EMF, milligauss, and stuff like that? Or
I do, yeah.
So this guy, we're out there, and this lady says, my car's moving. And I go, she's looking at her phone. I don't know, iPhone, I don't know which one. I said, wait, your car's moving. Yeah, look at my car's 500 feet away. It's moving. I go, your car's not moving. He said, yeah, it is. It is too. Who's driving my car? And I go, okay. I go, things happen out here. You have interference with technological, technological things and stuff. And she goes, well, my car is moving. My car is moving. So we went around, and she's watching it, and we get back up there, and she's looking at it. We get back up by the car, and I said, where's your car? Just right there, right where it was at. She goes, how could the GPS tell me my car moves? Well, the GPS has told me sometimes that I check with my phone on it. I've been like 20 miles away, 6 miles away. It can't find me on my farm sometimes.
I have to back up because you mentioned having a UFO sighting on the property. Can you talk about that? Like, have you seen craft before?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A number of times. I have pictures of, wow, UFOs, orbs, videos of orbs, hundreds of pictures of orbs.
Was it more like lights, or did you actually see like a craft?
Okay, I've seen lights, and crafts have been lights that I've seen, but on my I have some very good UFO pictures on my game cameras. I mean, very good ones. Linda and I and our friend Sanjay, we were out there 2016, and this orb, most of the time the orb is in infrared spectrum. You can see them with a scope, and you look with your eyes, you can't see them. But then they come up, and then they play games with you. They come up by my truck, and they go down, they come back up and bob around, and then they shoot away. And I had my friend, I said, we're going to chase this one down. And I have this on video. This is a phenomenal video. I said, okay, I got the orb. Okay, I focused. Okay, and I said he was out of my truck, and so I said, okay, walk. As he couldn't see it, and he walked too far. He walked behind it. You could see him walk behind it because it was kind of translucent. And then I said, no, come forward, walk to your left. And he walked right through it, and it just disappeared when he was halfway through it with his arm. And on his arm, it was about the size of a soccer ball, so you can see that. And that's a video I have. The one orb that Linda was there with Sanjay, I don't know if he was a guy that used to help Linda, and we were sitting in my field, and then from the west woods, this light started coming out, and it came. I said, here comes a light across the field, and we're okay. So we're watching it, and it's coming closer and closer and closer. It's coming right at us, actually. It's about the size of a basketball. I'd say, now Linda said it was closer. She said it was 30 feet away. I think it was like 50 feet away, 50 feet up in the air. And Sanjay, we had a spotlight that we had plugged into his car, and he he turned that on and shined it at it. Now, I don't know we didn't know why he did that. He didn't know why he did that. But once he did that, then the orb had shuddered. It kind of went, it was kind of like squiggly, and it was gone. Now that one we could see with the naked eye. And I've seen columns of light shafts with the naked eye, and I have hundreds, thousands of them on my camera with infrared, when the infrared lenses drop down, because I usually buy the infrared flash. So
we're doing an episode this season on Skinwalker Ranch, and actually just the diversity of experiences you've had on your property reminds me a lot of that case. Have you heard about that story?
Oh, sure. I watch it. Ryan Skinner's been to my place 3 times, and he's written books on Skinwalker Ranch. And
do you think there could be any parallel between what happened there and what's happening on your property in terms of what this phenomenon is?
Well, they don't have, I mean, I have no idea. I have tracks. I have, they saw a dire wolf, 30 years ago. I think I have a lot more evidence. I have lights. I have, orbs. I smell. The smell comes, and it's strong urine, dog, skunk urine smell. I mean, I think I have a lot more personally.
What are your future plans for the property? Do you have any future research or anything that you're doing that's coming up?
So, where the research takes me, it's in the family. It's turned over to my 2 sons when I pass, and so what they'll do. But I'm just going to keep doing research, and where the research takes me, that's where I'll go. What
would you say to somebody who's skeptical about the occurrences on your property? Like what would you say to them if they're doubting maybe this phenomenon?
I don't question it. I mean they're skeptical. I understand why they're skeptical. I say, if you want to see the data I have, I'll be glad to show it to you. I mean, if you have an hour and a half minimum, I don't want 10 minutes to show you the UFO pictures and show you the alien in the window or in the doorway. You need to, give me an hour and a half. If you want an hour and a half, if you give me an hour and a half, I'll show you a series of pictures and information and data that I have. If you want to experience that. Some guys say, no, you don't have it. You don't have anything. I have one neighbor, and he says I don't know what it is. He's lived there his whole life. He's 7 years old. I said, but your neighbor down the road saw it. This guy saw it. Your friend saw it. He said, yeah, but I've never seen it. So I said, well, are you out at night? I said, no, I've never. I said, no, you haven't seen it, but right down the road, I'm looking at that farm. They saw it. That farm saw it. I'm looking at 4 farms, and all those farmers have told me they've seen it in the last 20 years. Yeah, that's what they said. So okay.
I feel like you keep casually dropping these bombs on me, like that you might have a photo that shows a being in a UFO. Is that what you said?
I do. Yeah. I don't know if you know Pat Spain.
That doesn't sound familiar.
Pat Spain, he did a show, Legend Hunter. I've been on Travel Channel 3 times, and Discovery with Expedition X with Josh Gates. He was there. But Pat Spain was there, and he did Legend Hunters. And I told History Channel last spring they wanted to come and they were going to do a thing on Beast of Bray Road. I go, okay, but can we do 1 episode on your farm? I go, no. I will take 8 episodes minimum. And if you want to come and, you guys come, you look at one, you want to do the 5-toed 7-pad print. That's all. Okay. Well, Pat Spain, after he got him shooting, and they only wanted to know the tracks. He said, we can't, we got 44 minutes, and, and to build it up into the tracks is what we're going to work with. Okay. Well, then Pat Spain came over, and he was the host, and he said, what other pictures you got? And I said, well, here, I'll show you some on my phone. And so I showed him some of the track pictures. The other ones, those snow tracks, and, those are crazy. And 5-toed 7-pad tracks. And there's also a fist type track I have many pictures of. That's another creature out there. I think there's really 5 different creatures, but 5 different tracks at least. I showed him the one with the light and the UFO, the lights and the UFO, and then I zoom in on the opening that's there, and I said, "What do you see there?" And he goes, "Holy shit! Where'd you get this picture?" I said, "Well, it's out in my hayfield." He goes, "Holy! I can't do anything with it." I said, "I don't know what to do." He said, "But wow, I've never seen anything like that." There's these 2 huge bright lights, and I had the camera guy look at them and say, "Is there anything underneath there? Is a possibility this is a combine or something like that?" And he goes, "No." He did some filters. He said, "There's nothing underneath there. It's probably about 10 feet off the ground, those 2 bright lights." Well, they were so bright that the camera, you know, it when it takes the infrared flash, it drops down infrared filter, and it's in black and white and gray. So it's, you know, there's no color when it takes infrared pictures, night pictures. Well, this has orange lights, it has green light, it has bright orange lights, it has color to it. So the camera thought it was daytime that these lights were so bright. And I've driven up to my camera to test it with my bright headlights on and driven right up to it, and it still takes nighttime pictures. So this is brighter than 2 headlights, you know, 5 feet away from the camera. And it appears to be about 15 feet away, about 10 feet up in the air. And so the camera thought it was daytime. So it did not drop the infrared flash. And the other thing is, the camera only took 1 picture and quit working. It should have taken 3. Half hour before, it took 3 pictures of the coyote. Now it took 1 picture and these tremendously bright lights, you know. Then when you zoom in on the one side of one of the bright lights, here's a rectangular doorway lit from behind, which is, it's like it's in another universe, another parallel universe, or it's through a portal or something. It's lit from behind, and there's a figure standing. You can see the head, the shoulders, the arms, the legs, backlit from this rectangular doorway. Yeah, I mean, it's not quite the proportions of a human. I'd say the neck is longer, the body is thinner. I mean, it has 2 arms, 2 legs, and a body and a head. It's head and shoulders and the neck. Yeah.
Is your feeling that there's some sort of portal that these creatures or these experiences are originating from?
Yeah. Yes, I have pictures of the portal. Yeah. I've had 1 to 3 cameras out for the last 10 years. Here's a spherical area, approximately 10 feet. I can see it in the trees, but where it is at, the tree branches are all disturbed. They're not really, you know, they're not visible. It's like a shield, or like you can see this elliptical area. There was a light that was emitting through this spherical area, I'll call it, that was very much different than the area where the tree was clear, the branches were clear, and here the branches were distorted. And there's a light coming through that. Now, the interesting part is that is, you know, rounded, and that light you could see it coming through, but then on the edge, it would have the light would have a rounded effect to it. It only would come straight through. It didn't flare out. That spherical area surrounded the light, and it actually had a rounded, which light can't have a rounded effect to it. Now, math has proven there's multi-universes. The University of Wisconsin is working on a research to identify or find these other universes and see if there's, you know, some way, like they found the black hole. It took them 50 years, and science isn't in any hurry. So I knew they were working on this, so I called the University of Wisconsin and talked with a quantum physicist 4 or 5 years ago. And I told him what I had in my field and stuff, and he goes, well, he said, he said, I'm not going to get a grant for that. He said, there's no way. I said, I got my research to do. And I said, I totally understand. I totally understand. He said, yeah. I said, how are you going to get a grant for that? And I understand my brother was a biochemist and he got many grants in his years of working as a professor. And I understand that. But do I want grants from the government? Do I want the government to get involved? That's a question that I have to ask myself, because you hear of situations where the government takes everything and then it's filed away.
I think I know the answer to this question, but do you feel like what you're experiencing on your ranch is the same thing that Linda reported on in the 90s with her original article that people were seeing on Bray Road?
Well, I mean, the only phenomenon I know of anybody is my one neighbor saw a UFO when she was 10. Another neighbor chased her daughter up the tree when she was 10. I mean, that was the beast. Kept her up the tree for an hour. I mean, on Bray Road, in 2017, I was coming up Bray Road, coming from Elkhorn, coming back to my farm, and all of a sudden this bright light came flying. I didn't know if it was on the road or just come off the road. I have pictures of it behind my truck. It was, way above my tailgate, and it was so bright. I took pictures with my iPhone, and I didn't hold it out the window. Because I didn't want to drop it. I took pictures through my rear window, which isn't as good, but best I could. I mean, that thing chased me down Bray Road. I'd go 30, it'd be right behind me. I'd go 60, and for over a mile, it was followed me. My one neighbor, he was out in his, he's a farmer, but he also does landscaping and he does snow plowing. He was out at 3 o'clock in the morning working on his, on a salt spreading machine because it was snowing and he's going to send his crew out later. And all of a sudden his 2 donkeys started braying really loud, really crazy sound donkeys. And so he stepped out of his shed, his shop there, and to see why his donkeys were acting so strangely. And here coming down his driveway, he has a lot of light because he has a lot of equipment there. Here coming down his driveway, past his barn towards his shop, was a coyote running. And what the heck's this coyote running through my yard for? And like 15, 20 feet behind it, here is this huge, 6-7 foot tall creature chasing it, and it ran within 30 feet of him and looked at him. Now, he said it had yellow eyes. I saw it one evening that had red eyes, absolutely orangish red eyes. That's the second time I saw it. That was the first time I saw it. That was at night.
Do you ever feel worried about spending time out there, or do you ever have any concern that something bad could happen?
In 2016, the lady who you get a lot of stories out of me here. 2016, I finally told my neighbors that I had pictures because they would walk their dog out there, and they said, "Oh yeah, we know about the beast." Or this I shown to the daughter, and she said, "I know it." And she said, "Well, sometimes my dog won't walk out there, and so I don't walk out there. If my dog won't go, I don't go." I said, "Okay." She said, "Oh no, we're careful." Well, the next day, the grandmother, she came. She has an acre of land, and she would cut. She comes over on her lawn tractor. She drives her lawn tractor over to my farm, my shed, which is not too far away, probably 2 football fields. She drives over, and she drives in, and she shuts it off, and she said, "Lee, I just want to tell you, if you go out at night, please be careful." And I said, "Okay." And she starts her lawnmower and backs it out and goes back home. I go, "So you know a lot more than what you're telling me about this farm that I bought from your son, I didn't know anything about the Beast of Bray Road in 2007. No way.
Do you have any message or advice for people who might be experiencing things similar to what you're experiencing on your property? Like, what have you learned through this process of how to interact with and just kind of maybe live alongside this phenomenon?
Try to, we have so many eyewitness reports. But eyewitnesses, you're not seeing with your eyes, you're seeing with your brain. We don't see, our eyes allow light in, but our brain interprets it. And those interpretations are open for interpretation. So try to get pictorial evidence, try to get sound evidence. I have some sound tapes that are crazy. Try to get, physical evidence. I have tracks, I have castings, I have pictures, I have hair sample. Try to document it, take it down as data. That's what I did, and that's what I advise anybody to do, is to try to, is it happening? You've talked to enough people. You've had many eyewitnesses, I'm sure, on your show here. If you have enough eyewitnesses that have a similar story and a similar vision, visualization of it, and that can become evidence, and that can become useful in the court for making a decision on the situation, guilty, not guilty, or what the situation is. But those eyewitness reports have to be, very, very similar. Many times they are, but many times they're not also. So, that's my advice.
It's just such a wide range of experiences you're having. It's just it's hard to even put a name to it, because it is so.
The people say is the portal, is the UFOs, and other people have seen UFOs out there. Buck County Paranormal, they have a video. They were there 2 years ago now. They have a good picture of a UFO and a howl. They got chased out. They were only out there 45 minutes, and they got chased out, which happens a lot. This thing comes and rustles corn behind you and shakes the corn, howls at you. You wait, okay, I'm out of here. Is the the beast jumping out of the UFO? Well, he could, because I have snow tracks where in the middle of 48 feet from my fence line, here's tracks start. You can see where he landed. I have pictures of it. He landed side by side, 2 tracks about a foot apart, and he walks away in his 2-foot steps. So how did he, I called my brother Fred, and I said, you got to get up here. I go, this thing just landed in my field and walked away. It's a real fresh tracks. He goes, you're telling me it parachuted in? I don't know. But my brother Fred was an IBM systems analyst, and he's another skeptic who is, because yes, you have a creature walking around your field, bipedal, but material, it landed and walked away. And other times in the snow, you'll be following. It'll be 2-foot steps to 4-foot steps, and they'll just stop. They just stop. No more tracks. No more tracks.
I guess before we wrap up, because I know we're running a little bit over time here, but is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to share with our listeners about what's happening? I know there's probably a million more stories, but just anything that stands out to you that would be useful for people to know?
If it gets presented to you, like it was presented to me, I bought the farm unknowing. I was not interested in it. I was skeptical. But then the phenomenon, it was presented to me and started to exist and started to occur. Go with it and study it the best you can. Get the best information you can. If your house is being disturbed or you're having visualizations of creatures and stuff, try to get the best data you can get. And go with it. It's presented to you for a purpose. To me, this has been presented to me for some purpose. Not sure why the universe did this or God did this, but this was definitely a path that I did not choose to go down on purpose, but this is a path that was given me to go down, and so I will, to the best of my ability, try to present this to the populace. Eventually, if somebody really wants to study it, I'd love to have a PhD person come and spend 3-4 years studying it. That would be, but I don't know what you get the degree in. But I have a log, I have albums. So So I guess, try to collect as much data as you can when it's presented to you, and try to, it occurs, there's occurrences. Do we have the knowledge right now, the scientific knowledge to understand it? Absolutely not. But embrace it,
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. It helps get this content in front of more listeners, which means we can produce more episodes more often. Visit our website at www.strange-phenomenon.com for a full list of sources and more episodes. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at strange_phenom and on Facebook at Strange Phenomenon, all one word. Strange Phenomenon is hosted by Ray Tarara. It's written and produced by RJ Blake and Ray Tarara. Theme music by Tara Monk. Additional music provided by Sergey Cheremisinov.